What's up everyone, and as you can see from the title of the video, I am bringing you a deck profile on my first place Morphtronic deck list. Now Morphtronic is an Edison deck that I feel is very underused, and a lot of people really write it off as something like, most people say it's like not really a good Edison deck, but I'd argue it's a really good Edison deck. And obviously I got first place with it, so clearly there's something here. I think with a lot of Morphtronic deck lists is they focus on the wrong aspects of Morphtronics. I feel like most Morphtronic deck lists try to focus more on the synchro plays in Morphtronics, because Morphtronics, you can get a lot of synchro plays going. Just because cell funds, not once per turn. You also got machine duplication, which allows you to grab 3 cell fun. And you can make a pretty good synchro board. Problem is, this is as, Mirror Force, Torrential, Bottomless, Dimension Fissure, and many more removals. Putting a bunch of synchros on the field is nice, can build pressure, but if it just gets broken through, there's not really a whole lot of point to it. Instead, I try to focus this deck more defensively, as you'll see from the deck profile. So without further ado, let's get right into it. First, I ran 3 Morphtronic Selfon. Now, Selfon is the biggest monster in this deck, because, so for those of you who don't know, Morphtronics gain effects depending on whether in attack position or defense position. If Selfon is in attack position, you can roll a die, and you can randomly roll a 6. And you can activate cards up to the number you rolled and special summon any Morphtronic monster you revealed. So let's say you roll a 6, then you can look at the top 6 cards of your deck, and if any of them are Morphtronic monsters, you can summon them, ignoring their summoning conditions. The defense one just allows you to stack your deck, which you're not really going to summon in defense because Selfon's just so good in attack. So like let's say this plus Remoten, that's an easy synchro. Next, I run 3 copies of Borden. Borden is really good, because Borden has an effect to where if it's in defense position, Morphtronic monsters you control cannot be destroyed with battle, and if it's in attack, they all can attack directly. So the defense part of it is easily the best part, and it's the part that I choose to focus on, because while it's in defense, I notice my opponent can't really do much about it, because I'm not attacking, so Mirror Force doesn't work. It's also not an attack position. The only thing that can really get rid of it is like Torrential or some other unpopular form of removal. And I noticed my opponents were having so much trouble getting rid of it because they just couldn't. They couldn't attack over it, unless they had a monster that did piercing. So Borden is basically just as important as Selfon, where I'd say Selfon is your best form of offense, and Borden is your best form of defense. Also run 3 copies of Remoten. Remoten's pretty cool. You can banish, if it's an attack, you can banish 1 Morphtronic monster from your graveyard. And if you add a Morphtronic monster with the same level as that target. So it can search in a way. You also got Scopin. When it's an attack, you can summon a level 4 Morphtronic monster from your hand, and if it's a defense, it becomes level 4. I'd say both effects are really good with Scopin, because there's a lot of times you're going to want it as a level 4 synchro. So let's say you pair it with a Selfon that's a level 5 synchro, and obviously, you can summon from hand, so you got a lot of aspects to it. Also run 3 copies of Radion. Radion's okay. While in attack position, Morphtronic monsters you control gain 800 attack, and in defense they gain 1000 defense. So it's basically your attack boost and your defensive buff, which is obviously really good if you have Borden. So you also run 2 copies of Slingun. Slingun is one of your forms of removal. While in attack position, once per turn you contribute a Morphtronic monster, except Slingun, to destroy 1 card on the field. Now that's 1 card, not 1 monster. So let's say you're worried about back row. You can use this to get rid of that back row. Let's say they got an annoying extra monster, boom, gone. You also got the 1 Stangen, which this one didn't really come up as often, so it might be something I might cut for maybe another Slingun or something like that, possibly. Moving on to the spells, we run the obviously 3 machine duplication. Even though I said that I'd like to play this deck more defensively, if I have Selfon and machine duplication, obviously I want to go that route. But this deck is more focused around Borden and my opponent's just not being able to kill me. Also run 3 Accelerator. Accelerator is a really good card. You can return 1 Morphtronic card from your hand to the deck, then you can destroy 1 card on the field, and then draw a card. So basically, not only is it card neutral, but you get to pop a monster. Or not pop a monster, pop a card, which is also really good. It's really good at getting rid of these annoying monsters, or back row if you want to go for a game. Also run Double Tool C&D, or 3 copies of it. Honestly, I'm thinking about cutting this one out. This one didn't really perform all that well, because it says equip to a Power Tool Dragon or a level 4 Morphtronic monster, which we didn't summon Power Tool Dragon once. And as for level 4s, all we have is Slinging and Radion for scoping if it's in defense. Double Tool C&D is nice in theory, but it just doesn't really perform that well. Honestly, I might just swap it out for the Wave Motion Cannon, because one thing I noticed with my games is that it lasted a long time, to where I could have basically finished them with a Wave Motion Cannon. So that's probably one change I would make. I run 2 copies of the repair unit. You know, pretty good getting a monster to the graveyard and then reborning a Morphtronic, which is pretty good because sometimes you want to have a Morphtronic in your grave, also to help fuel the Pot of Avarice. If you're playing Morphtronic, you gotta play Pot of Avarice. Considering you're gonna have a lot of monsters in your graveyard, having this to be able to recur them to where your Selphons are still able to get, you know, good summons off of the excavation. Also run the 1-for-1 for Selphon, and for back row removal, we got the Heavy Storm and the MST. Moving on to the traps, I run 3 Morphtronic Bind and 2 Fairy Box. Now, Morphtronic Bind control a face-up Morphtronic monster. All level 4 or higher monsters your opponent controls cannot attack or change their battle position, which is really good. In practice, this didn't really come up, more so just because I never really saw it, and when I did see it, they had a card to get rid of it. But basically, it does force something out of your opponent, because basically, let's say I have Stardust and they have Stardust. My Stardust can attack all at once, but theirs cannot. So it's really good, especially if you have board on the field. So basically, with Bind, you can keep board in a defense position, but also have monsters in attack position to kind of like will your opponent down, and you don't have to worry about them being attacked into. And lastly, for traps, I run the Judgment, Torrential, and Mirror Force. You know, just some overall pretty good cards. Moving on to the extra deck. I'd say most of the extra deck we probably didn't use too much, but I think that's mostly just Edison, because there's obviously better cards than others, like Stardust Dragon, which is the one we usually make the most. Also run 2 copies of Power Tool Dragon, which I think I only summoned it like maybe once. Also run the Ancient Fair Dragon, you know, summon a level 4 from your hands is pretty good. The Black Rose is also pretty good. I run Mistworm as well. I got the one Thought Roller. The one Dark Hand Dragon. Dark Hand Dragon is probably the one that I worry about the most in this deck, because you can remove a lot of stuff with it. So basically those board ends are going to get wiped. So if I have like removal or something like that, I'd save it for a Dark Hand Dragon. Got your Guardian, the Brio, the 2 Cataster. Also got a Junk Warrior, Iron Chain, and Armory Arm. Armory Arm actually did come up a couple times. It helped with getting a lot of attack in, and it's also one we can make pretty often as well. Moving to the side deck. The side deck I didn't really use too much. In fact, I think I only have like 14 cards in the side deck. I run the 3-Wave Motion Cannon, which is something I'm surprised I don't see a lot of people use, considering Wave Motion Cannon is just really good in slower formats, which Edison is. It's also really good for time, considering Edison uses modern time rules, not Edison time rules, so having this is also really good for time, especially if you're playing a slower deck like mine. That's kind of why I want to move it to the main deck. I'm playing 3 Light Imprisoning Mirror and 3 Shadow Imprisoning Mirror, you know, for the Lightsworn and Blackwing's matchups, which I don't think I saw them once. I think the only side deck card I ever saw was Wave Motion Cannon. Also running 1 Trap Stun, 3 Desynchro, and a Royal Oppression. Desynchro is a card that I originally had in the main deck, but last minute I cut it to the side. More so because I play it in modern Morphtronics. Selphon's not once per turn, so basically I'd use Selphon, summon something, go into Formula Synchron, separate it with the Desynchron, use Selphon again, then go back into the Formula and draw a card. Well, we don't have Formula Synchron in Edison, otherwise that'd be really awesome if we did. But it's still a pretty good card, and obviously, considering Synchros are heavily played, this is going to be good against most matches as well. It's kind of like a removal, but different from normal removal. And of course, Suppression, if you're in a very simplified game state, this might help you more than your opponent. That's it for my Morphtronic Edison deck profile. Let me know in the comments what you think about this list, and I'll see you in the next video I make. Bye.